Now, this first tactic is one that I call the queen mother of all tactics. It's the tactic I use more than any other. It's a very, very effective tactic when combined with other tactics. It's the simplest tactic imaginable to stop a challenger in his tracks and to turn the tables and to get him thinking. It's an almost effortless way to put you in the driver's seat. And I call it the Columbo Tactic. Now, you remember Lieutenant Columbo. You know, he's that detective on TV. He's got that certain way about himself. He's got this old trench coat he wears, you know, looks like he slept in it. Maybe he did. You know, he's got that stub of a cigar, right? And a little pad of paper. You know, but he's never got a pencil. He's always got to be digging around for his pencil. He can't find it anywhere. And he walks around the crime scene scratching his head, looking kind of stupid. I mean, this guy looks stupid, but he's stupid like a fox. He looks like he can't think his way out of a wet paper bag, but he's got a plan. And at some point, you'll see him. You know how he does that. He'll be walking around totally befuddled, scratching his head, thinking. And at some point, he stops, and he says something like this. I don't know. There's something about this thing that bothers me. Do you mind if I ask you a question? You know how he does that, right? And he gets his answer back. Oh, yeah, well, you're very intelligent. One more thing. And then he one more tings them to death, right? Question after question after question. And people get annoyed. And he says, I know I'm driving you crazy, but I can't help myself. It's a habit. And this is a habit that you ought to get into. The key to the Columbo tactic is using carefully selected questions to disarm the other person and to productively advance the conversation. Listen, if you don't know where to go in any particular circumstance, you find yourself stonewalled, just ask a question. Never make an assertion when a question will do. Don't start preaching at somebody right away. Try to find some way to advance your point by using questions instead. And with a little planning and a little practice, this can become second nature. Now, this approach offers tremendous advantages. Questions, for example, are interactive. They invite others to participate in what you have to say. Questions can make headway without even having you expose your point of view. You know, I encourage people who are at work and they're not allowed to witness, tell people about Christ or talk about religious things, that instead of talking about it themselves, is just to ask the questions. Because when you ask the questions, you're not stating your point of view. Questions also can serve to shift the burden of proof on the other person if they're making the claim. But most importantly, these questions, using the Columbo tactic, keeps you in the driver's seat. Now, some of you might know Hugh Hewitt. He's a national broadcaster, a conservative guy, great Christian guy, and a fine ambassador for Christ. And he's written a tremendous little book called In But Not Of. And it's got 60 or so chapters. They're all short vignettes that are meant to instruct you on how to be a more effective ambassador for Jesus Christ, essentially. And one of his chapters is entitled, Ask at least half a dozen questions in every conversation. Now, why does he say that? Because he knows that when you ask the questions, the other person actually thinks you're kind of interesting and a good conversationalist. You're drawing them out, but they think you're the interesting one. Interested is interesting. But secondly, when you ask the questions, you are the one that is in control.